Yeah.
Ma'am, my wife's older sister.
Well, at least not many of them in here.
She's
I hope so. Are they? I'm glad they opened that door. All right, you ready? You ready, Princess? Okay, good morning, everyone. It's August 16th, Board of Supervisors meeting. Called to order at this time and asked Mr. Slay if he would do invocation. We're going to need it.
Let's pray. Father, thank you for the privilege again to stand before you, to come before you, to acknowledge your presence here with us today. Father, to acknowledge that we need you with us today to give us wisdom and guidance. And Father, we need your strength to be able to endure. Father, I pray that as we move through the agenda, we'll find ways to serve our fellow man, that we'll find ways, Father, to make this community to be the best that it possibly can be, that we will honor the service of our citizens that make our government available to us, that make this time available to us, our law enforcement, our emergency folks, Lord, all of our staff that work so hard. Lord, let us honor their service by performing well today in this meeting. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. All right, next public comment recognition. We're honored today to have Mr. Carl Van Horn, Mayor of the town of Pelahatchie. Good to see you.
Good morning, sirs.
Good morning.
I just wanted to come today, introduce myself as the new mayor of Pelahatchie, and let y'all know that on behalf of my staff at Pelahatchie, we look forward to working with this board, and we hope the board will help us work together for the good of the town of Pelahatchie for Rankin County. And anything we can do, we're more than welcome to help y'all as much as we can.
Yeah.
So, thank y'all.
Well, thank you.
Thank you,
for
Carl.
coming. Glad to have you on board.
Thank you for your service
Yeah.
over all the years.
You want to introduce who your backup is here?
This is Brady Harrell. He's our Public Works Director in Pelahatchie. Most of y'all know his brother, Ben Harrell.
Right.
We work close together. Anything that y'all need from us on our end, don't hesitate to call either one of us.
That's
Good deal.
Tater's brother?
This is Tater's brother. Didn't think there could be two of them, could you?
I was hoping there would.
Always good to have a good backup with you.
That's right.
There you
Thank
go.
y'all.
Glad. All right, thank you.
Brady wouldn't
Glad to have
admit to being here to interview for Ben's job. I just want to say that he wouldn't admit to it.
I like
Just,
it.
but
Get
just
that
in
rumor
case
started.
there's questions, right?
Yeah, I like it.
Hey,
Carl,
we're really
you're next, and you ought to be feel really honored that you're going to get to go. Your follow-up is not going to be quite as bad as usual.
Yeah, I am honored.
Now let's just see what you got for us. Yeah,
Try to bring it when I can.
thank you.
I remember we opened bids for the renovation of the Rankin County Community Services Building, the old Chancery Building, Thursday. We had 7 bids, very competitive. Low bid was by Moran and Associates out of Jackson. The base bid was $543,800, and the alternate, which was replacing the wood columns in the basement with steel columns, was $10,950. So the total was right around, if you took them both, right around $554,750. Our original estimate in January, just for the top floor, was around $657,000. And that was in January, and based on everything that was happening, we were, to be honest with you, expecting something around 700, 725. So the bottom line is we got better bids than what we were anticipating. And I think in trying to analyze it, one of the reasons were y'all had the county forces, Ben and his forces, do the demolition, and that saved quite a bit of money apparently. And they were able, with renovation projects, a lot of times these contractors can't see what's there, so they have to add money to protect themselves. Once that was, demolition was basically done, they were able to see it, and that resulted in better bids. So If you're not familiar with Morant, they've been around a long time since when I first got here. I think they first started in 1972, yeah. And so, they're mostly doing renovations, smaller projects now. We have not worked with them in a long time, but they have been around a long time, so, and I did talk to them, their bid, they're comfortable with their bid, so, as far as we're concerned, we're comfortable, we would recommend acceptance of the bid, either base bid or both bids, that's up to the county.
I make a motion, we approve the, project, Merritt and Associates, including the alternate.
Okay, motion by Mr. Bishop,
Second.
second, Mr. Cross, to approve this. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. All opposed?
Okay, I'll get a draft contract drawn up and bring it to the board at the next meeting. Well, let board attorney review it before that and then bring it up.
Our next meeting. Do we have to wait that long?
I can send it.
Y'all can approve the contingent upon the approval of the contract agreement by Board Council and
Let's get rolling.
rock and roll.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll get it drawn up this week then and get it to you.
Okay, all right,
Good.
All right.
thank
Any
you.
other questions?
Do we need to amend our motion so that you can, once approved, we can, all
Make sure that the minutes reflect that it's contingent on council's approval of the contract.
right.
Okay,
All right.
all right,
Thank you, Carl.
Thank y'all.
all right, old business, motion approved, minutes,
So moved.
motion approved, minutes, August 6th, second,
Second.
second, motion by Daniel, second by, who was second?
Steve.
Steve, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Consent agenda, any questions?
Motion.
Yeah.
All right, motion approved by Brad, any discussion?
Yeah, I
Jack?
just have a question. These, increases, I'm guessing it's increasing their budgets. Like, there's several in here. One for the tax collector's office, one for our office. They're not small numbers.
These amounts were in the hole, this is to pull up to actual, because we were so far behind.
So where are we getting the funds?
They're all, anytime you do this, they're out of cash. If you're not moving from line item to line item, it's out of cash.
Well, you add those up, that's a big number.
I read it, but
Okay.
it's going pretty fast because it was long.
What would you propose, what do we,
No, I mean, that's
You got
like
it.
700,000, isn't it? Altogether?
There, well, you see the one for the approval for the new courthouse, the final pay.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have the money in the bond fund, it had to come out of general, well, it wasn't in there, so you have to make amendments,
Right.
you had to make that payment. Then the, one for EOC for the 150, that was for the shooting range, that portion this year that y'all allowed to share.
mhm.
What about ours and the
Ours
tax
is at
collector?
375 though.
That is with, you know, last year you reduced some of the professional service fees, and that's to get them up to where they should be.
All right.
Oh, I got you. I understand. Same for the tax collector, I'm guessing.
Yeah, some of that amount is for the, service provided for the delinquent, taxes and
Yeah.
stuff, the company that we pay. And there just wasn't, they've been doing a lot, and we get the money, it's on the revenue side, but now we've got to up it on her side to make the payment to them for their portion of it.
Okay,
Okay, that was just a rather large amount. We were,
It is, but it's getting close to the end of the year,
That time
so
of year.
there'll still be some end of year amendments to make, but this was trying to get everybody's budget back in line the
so,
closest we could.
can we count that as a loss? All right, that's it.
all right, had a motion, have a second,
Second.
second by Daniel, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Okay. Mr. Slay, You might want to bring a chair,
Yes, sir. Pack a lunch.
stool.
If I may, items 1 through 5 will be relocated to the end of our protest hearing. So we'll start with item 6 if the President is amenable to that.
Okay?
What we're doing here today is we're hearing objections to assessments that have been made. There's a statute that requires the first Monday of August or the date upon which the Board of Supervisors establishes to hear all objections to assessments. You've established today to be that day. That's why it's on our agenda. Taxpayers may submit written objections to assessments that have been made on their property by this deadline. If they have not objected in writing by the deadline, they are deemed to have accepted the assessment. So that's why we go through this drill. On today's agenda, we have some 44 separate objection to assessments, but most of those, if not all of those, are going to be lumped by taxpayer among several parcels. So we should be able to move through the agenda fairly quickly. I will start with items 6 and 7.
No one's here.
No one's here on that? Okay, so this will be an easy one to start with. What you've got is items 6 and 7, Colony Acquisition LLC. You see parcel E8A-5 and E8A-5-10. CBRE Debbie Askins is the representative for the taxpayer. I'll open that public hearing and I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak on the Colony Acquisition LLC matter, items 6 and 7 on the agenda. Hearing no one to speak on that matter, we will close the public hearing. At this time, it would be appropriate to take action. Our recommendation is that you accept the tax assessor's assessment for items 6 and 7.
Okay.
So moved.
Motion approved by Mr. Bishop,
Second.
second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed?
Ms. Janice, if you will call in or call and ask if there is I'm going to make a pass at this, Mayor Desai with O'Connor and Associates.
Mayor decide.
Pearl
Wanna
Day
be mayor?
Enterprises. Pearl Day Enterprises, and the name is Mayor Desai. Nobody here.
Okay. This is going to take us items 8 through 15. I told you we'd be able to move quickly. Mr. Desai is the appointed representative from O'Connor and Associates representing each of those taxpayers that you see listed there. I'll go through them for purposes of the record. Pearl Days Enterprises, Inc., E8E-12, Shriji Pearl LLC, E8E-23-72, Shriji Flowwood LLC, parcel G11851, Florence Hotel Group, E4N2040, Yogi Flowwood, G11852, Laxmi Pearl Enterprises, E8E2380, Pearson 257 LLC, Charles D. Burney, E8I20, J. Jala Inc., D6P2110. Each of those taxpayers is represented by Mr. Desai, O'Connor and Associates. This time, we will open the public hearing on items 8 through 15. I'll ask if there is anyone here from O'Connor and Associates or Mayor Desai to speak on that matter. Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak on that matter. We'll close that public hearing. At this time, it would be appropriate to take action. Our recommendation is to accept the assessor's assessment for each of those parcels reflected.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion to accept these by Brad,
Second.
second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed?
Mr. President, items 16, actually through 25, 16 through 25, I'll ask Ms. Janice to help us if there is a Megan Crimmings with Assessment Technologies present.
Megan Crimmings with the
Assessment Technologies.
Technologies. no one.
Okay. This one may take just a little bit of explanation, gentlemen. GNB Incorporated is the forerunner of Exide Battery. This has to do with the Florence battery plant operations
Right.
and the battery operations out at Briar Hill Road. And so each of the parcels that are reflected there would be connected to in some way that particular operation. After receiving notification from the individual listed there, Ms. Crimmings, that came through the tax assessor's office, they were raising an objection to the assessments on the basis that the challenged nature of the properties resulted in a zero or negligible value for the properties, and they were asking that the properties be carried on the books as having no value. We all are familiar with why they would make that argument. The interesting thing is that they are marketing those properties for sale, so apparently they do believe that they do have value.
Some value there.
I
Yeah.
don't know why they'd market them for sale otherwise. However, the issue that as I appreciate it, is that all of these properties are no longer owned by GNB Incorporated or Exide. They're actually an asset of the bankruptcy estate, and unless I have been misled in some way, they are the property of the bankruptcy environmental trustee. And so this entity, GNB Incorporated, no longer has standing to raise an objection to an assessment. They no longer own the property. So what I would request is that we modify our documentation to reflect that the correct owner is the bankruptcy trustee, and submit whatever appropriate assessments need to be submitted directly to the bankruptcy trustee. And there would be no reason for you to take action on these objections that are before you. We will simply notate the file to send the assessments to the correct party. So what I would need is just, let me open the public hearing and ask if Megan Crimmings or Assessment Technologies is present for items 16 through 25. I don't hear anyone. We'll close that public hearing. I don't know that we need a motion. We need the record to reflect that we have no action to take on those matters. Okay, so we'll let the record reflect that. Mr. President, item 26, give me just a second here. We'll take 26 and 27. I'll ask Ms. Janice to see if a representative from Flanagan Bilton LLC is present.
Flanagan Bilton LLC. Flanagan Bilton. Sparrow Copitus. 26 and 27.
No one there.
Believe that. Well, them.
Items 26 and 27 will open as a combined public hearing. I'll ask if there's anyone here from Flanagan Bilton LLC, Spiro Copitus, to speak on this matter. Is there anyone here to speak on the Flowwood 2510, Flowwood APL MP LLC? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak on the 26 and 27 items before you. We'll close that public hearing. At this time, it'd be appropriate to take action. Our recommendation is to accept John's assessment on these parcels.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion accept, approved by Brad, second by Jay, Steve.
Jay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Mr. President, the next items are 28 through 35. All of those are Comcast properties. You'll see them listed there. These are personal property ad valorem assessment
Southern
objections.
Mississippi Incorporated.
Christian Altenberger is who we need.
Christian Altenberger.
Burger. He got the others too, yeah. Oh, that's-
While we're waiting, we'll open items 28 through 35 as a public hearing. I'll ask if there is a Christian Altenberger present to speak on these matters.
Nobody's here.
Okay? Mr. President, we'll close that public hearing since nobody is here to speak on the Comcast matters. It's items 28 through 35. That hearing is closed. It'd be appropriate to take action. Our recommendation is to accept John's assessment of the personal property tax that is payable.
Got a motion?
I'll make
a motion.
Motion by Brad,
Second.
second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed?
Probably should have taken the other ones as well. I see that
Yeah.
items 36, 37, 38, and 39 are also Mr. Altenberger, who is obviously not here. So
Right.
we'll open that public hearing for items, whatever I just called out, 36 through 39.
39,
That also is a Comcast, it's a different entity. It's also personal property assessment objection. So that hearing is open. I'll ask if Mr. Altenberger's here. He's not here. We'll close that public hearing. At this time, it'd be appropriate to take action. Our recommendation is to accept John's personal property tax assessment.
Motion approved by Brad,
Second.
second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed?
Okay. Item 40, AJ N9 HUIS Investments, that's the Whataburger, okay. G11 7141. John, that's not the new one, is it? Okay.
It's not out of the ground
I
yet.
was gonna say, I mean, they're getting an early start, aren't they? Okay. Janice, if you can find out if Mr. Gallier or Andrews are present.
K.E. Andrews, Connor, and Geller.
Ask them if anybody's out there.
We know that there's,
Is
we
somebody
know,
else?
we know there's some out there.
They are here?
Well, come on down.
No, I'm talking Brad. No one's here, Craig.
Okay. This is actually going to affect items 40 and 41, but I want to take them separately since it's two different entities.
Okay.
All right, we'll open the public hearing on number 40. This is the Whataburger at G11-7141. I'll ask if Mr. Andrews or Mr. Gallier is here to speak on that matter. Is anyone? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here. We'll close the public hearing. At this time, it'd be appropriate to take action. Our recommendation is to accept John's assessment on that parcel.
Motion.
Motion approved by Steve,
Second.
second by Brad. Any discussion?
Oh,
All in
you
favor
did
say aye.
have somebody
Wait,
came?
Aye.
wait a minute.
Aye.
Wait.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
She's just talking to somebody.
All in
All right.
favor, all in favor say aye. All opposed?
Next item is item 41. Again, Mr. Andrews, but there's a separate name here, a Natalie Ray. Can we check to see if Miss Ray is present?
Why you got her on the phone, see if Miss Ray's there.
Natalie Ray.
Is Natalie Ray out there? Okay.
All right, we'll open the public hearing on number 41, Spirit Master Funding 10 LLC. This is Academy Sports, G11-713. I'll ask if Mr. Andrews or Miss Ray is present to speak on this matter. Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak on that matter. We'll close the public hearing. At this time, it'd be appropriate to take action. Our recommendation is to accept John's assessment on the parcel.
Motion.
Second.
Motion approved by Brad, second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
The next three items, 42, 43, 44, are represented by Pivotal Tax Solutions, Diana Lomelli. Diana Lomelli.
No one's here.
Okay. We'll open 42, 43, 44. And I'll ask if Pivotal Tax Solutions is present or Miss Diana Lomelli. I don't hear or see anyone on that matter, Mr. President. We'll close items 42, 43, 44. This time it'd be appropriate to take action. We recommend accepting John's assessment of those parcels.
Motion.
Motion approved by Steve,
Second.
second by Brad. Discussion, not all in favor say aye. All opposed.
My understanding is that there is a representative here on the items 1 through 5. So we will return to those items which we skipped initially.
Okay,
If you can have Evans, Petrie, PC, Karen Nickel, or anyone else here on behalf of the Walmart, Sam's entities.
Okay, thank you.
okay. Good morning.
This time we'll open items 1 through 5. This will be Walmart Real Estate Business Trust, parcel G9D-7-10. This will be the Walmart Real Estate Business Trust, parcel H11-30-20. This will be the Walmart Real Estate Business Trust, parcel D6P-28-60. This will be the Sam's Real Estate Business Trust, parcel D8L-20A. And the Sam's Real Estate Business Trust, parcel D8L-20B. Representative of the taxpayers in each of these is Evans, Petrie, PC. I believe Ms. Nickel is present. Are you Ms. Nickel? Okay. So we're going to open that public hearing on each of those 5. I'll allow Ms. Nickel to come forward and present whatever documentation. We have a 3-minute limitation on our presentations.
Okay, thank you.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Karen Nickel. My address is 1000 Ridgeway Loop Road, Memphis, Tennessee. I'm an attorney here in Mississippi, and I will make it even shorter than 3 minutes because I was here last year and I know how this goes. So I have an affidavit that I do need to put in for the record, stating that the appraisals that were done last year, that it's his opinion, the appraiser's opinion, that the value has not changed. He has searched. These are the appraisals. I think we've already sent those to you, but if you need a copy for the record, I'll give you that now too. I know.
Yeah, really?
Last year I brought boxes and copies for all of y'all, but I managed to remember I don't need to do that this year. I also, just for the record, have a little summary, but I understand how this goes, so I'm making it super short, and I didn't waste a bunch of trees this year, so here you go. The only thing, to be honest, that I have to add from last year is that we really would like to have a conversation with someone. We'd like to settle these matters. The last year is on appeal before the circuit court, before the Chancery Court here. And so if there is someone that we could sit down and have an open conversation with about values, we would like to do that. Representatives from Walmart have expressed that to me to express to you. So once again, I don't know if it's you or the assessor's office, but if somebody would sit down and talk with us, we would really like that. And if not, I guess I'll see you guys next year.
So
Thank you.
Walmart has counsel that's involved in the appeals. A generous offer has already been extended to Walmart and to Sam's. I'll just lump them together. They're being represented by the same individuals. As soon as they dismiss their proceedings, we're happy to have a sit down and talk about valuations. We're waiting for a dismissal. So I don't know, the board typically in situations where we're actually being sued have been somewhat reticent to want to sit down and talk. So things seem to work better when there's no litigation ongoing to make it worthwhile. And so my recommendation is, and will continue to be, thank you, brother, will continue to be, as soon as they demonstrate a real interest in wanting to talk about it, they can dismiss their appeals, and we'll definitely be glad to have a sit down and talk.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so now that, Ms. Nickel can understand, I want to give the board some clarity on exactly what it is that Walmart is suggesting by way of the appraisals that have been presented. They use and have been using an argument around the United States in multiple jurisdictions to mixed success. They've had success in some places, they have not had success in other places. I got to give them credit. It's a unique methodology that they use, but typically what they will do is they will purchase properties in various locations, and when they take down title of the property, whether it is that they're going to hold it corporately or they're going to actually enter into a transaction where someone else holds title and they lease it back from that individual, a sale and lease back type of arrangement. In both respects, they will introduce into the title of the property restrictive covenants. They will introduce language that says, if we ever vacate and leave this premises cannot be retitled in the name of, in essence, one of our competitors. You cannot bring another big box store brand into this location and allow it to operate. So they introduce this restrictive covenant into that. It sounds like it may be something internally as a corporation they've decided, we don't want to build these facilities and then turn around and have our competitors operating out of the very facilities that we built. I mean, it does make some sense from a corporate modeling standpoint that they would want to be able to protect themselves in that way. But it's not quite as simple as that. What they have been able to do is to introduce these restrictions on marketability of their property. In other words, they say, you can't offload this, no one can offload this property off to another big box. And by doing that, in reality what they've done is they've taken away the market for that property. You see that? Mm-hmm. So instead of John and his office being able to look at this property and say, what would this property be worth if it were available to be sold at its value? And Walmart has ridden in on their horse and said, with hired guns, and said, you have to value that as if it has no marketable value because nobody can buy it. And oh, by the way, they are the ones that made it that way. Walmart designed it so that there is no market. And now they want to argue, well, we don't have a market. So you have to slash the value of that property to account for the fact that we ourselves destroyed the market. That's neat. That's a great flip of the switch on us, isn't it? The upshot is this. The Walmarts, and by the way, they're not alone. It just so happens that, unfortunately for Ms. Nickel, they're the ones before us today. But all of the big boxes are doing this. Lowe's, Home Depot, Target, they're all doing it. And they're doing it all over the country. And they are using their political influence to thwart any attempt to try to fix some of this nonsense. It should not, and I think most reasonable people can understand, a corporation like a Walmart should not be able to, on its own, destroy the marketability and then argue there's no marketability. That's stacking the deck. Mm-hmm. It's totally unfair. And this is what's more nefarious about it. They are shifting the tax burden from Walmart, where? To your constituents, to your residents. Most of our ad valorem tax is paid by residential property owners. So they're shifting it from who ought to be paying it and who is a heavy user of public services off onto mom and pop and our constituencies.
Same ones that shop there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's disquieting to me that they would accept what they get in terms of federal subsidies, it would blow your mind to know what the federal government is paying Walmart in subsidies. Hundreds of millions of dollars a year, which they could easily use, by the way, to pay the tax bills that they have. But they want the cake and they want to eat it too. And I don't mind telling you that keeps me awake at night, trying to think of ways to make sure that doesn't happen. One way that we're doing that is we're defending vigorously the lawsuit they've already sued you with. And we're going to keep defending that. And we're going to be working night and day to address issues that can fix this once and for all at the legislative level. It needs to be addressed there, and there are ways to fix it, that get it fixed once and for all and eliminate this as a behavior pattern for not just the Walmarts and the Sam's, but everybody else. I think it's shameful what they're doing. I would propose this. If they really think that the value of their property in Rankin County, which by the way is operating at full speed, go look at the parking lots. Tell me that that property is not operating at a healthy pace, especially they haven't been hurt in the least by this virus. If anything, it has expanded what they're doing. They're taking properties now and they are converting them from retail establishments to compete with the Amazons. They're taking their own properties now and they're going to quieten them to make them distribution centers. They have got it figured out. They know how to make money, hand over fist, and they also know how to snowbird us, walk in here and say, our properties don't have any value. They have no value at all because there's no market for them. We can't sell them to anybody. Your comps don't count. You can't sell them. Why? Because we said you can't in the deed. So they have their cake and they eat it too. I think it's shameful. Let's do it this way. If they really think that their properties have no value, if they really think our properties have no market, you should slash those properties at least in half, the values. Slash them at least in half, or even deeper in some places. They've argued for 75% valuation reductions in some places. If they really genuinely believe that, let them accept 75% of the public services. If the properties ought to be valued as vacant, they don't need police protection. They don't need fire protection. They don't need water. They don't need sewer. They don't need connectivity to our public roads. Let's have a deal that way. You want it slashed? Send me a letter saying you reject all public services associated with that facility.
Amen, brother. Preach on.
That's what I would suggest that we do. Hopefully this can be preserved and presented. I hope it gets in front of a circuit judge where we have an opportunity to talk to our local circuit judges about what we think Walmart's up to. That's all I got to say on that. I would close the public hearing and I would ask for a motion that you wholeheartely, unanimously reject Walmart and Sam's objections and that you instate John's assessment, full value assessment of their properties in Rankin County.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Brad. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you.
For your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Caroline's not here.
Yeah, I'll make a motion on that. One of the things, her item right here is a resident that's in my area that called in her office to talk about it. So I'll make a motion to approve and void that supplemental charge back, that PIN number.
Second.
Motion by Daniel,
Monday second.
Jay, second.
Jason, second by Jay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? John Sullivan.
You ain't had enough already today?
I've had enough for sure.
Uh,
Item A, request the approval of the application authority to expend $1 million.
So moved.
Second.
Motion approved by Jay, second by Steve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Item B, petition to change the assessment on 2020 real property assessment roll.
So move.
Motion by Jay,
Second.
second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All
Aye.
opposed?
And item C, request approval to void the 2020 tax sale and refund tax sale purchaser due to an erroneous assessment for the 2019 tax year with improvements that were removed in 2018 for PIN number 9851.
So move.
Second.
Motion approved by Jay, second by Steve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you.
John.
Good morning.
Bridget Harrigan, good morning.
Good morning. We opened bids on August 2nd for the term bid for construction of precast bridges, and today I'm recommending that we award the bids to Key LLC with Hemp Hill Construction Company as the alternate.
So move.
Okay, motion approved by Jay,
Second.
second by Brad. All in favor say aye.
Hey,
All opposed?
I want to say one thing in discussion, if we were going to have that. The Hempfield construction stuff, just even when you say it as an alternate, my heart rate goes up a little bit. I start sweating a little bit on the same side because of the nightmare I went through with Hempfield construction and still living the nightmare at North Shore Parkway and Spillway Road. So, from that same point, I'm against them even as an alternate on any of our stuff because of the bad performance that they gave us and the taxpayers of Rankin County at the reservoir side of it.
Well, you know, I know they took a long
Hey, still
time,
going, still
but
going.
I thought it was through.
No, that's what they want you to think. We're still not closed out.
What's left? I mean, it looks like it's through.
Well, it appears to be until it rains or something
I
like
mean,
that. and the
I
area
don't know if
floods, so-
anything they did is causing that though.
I don't know.
In all honesty.
I do know it took them 3 years to do a 90-day job. So at that rate,
All right.
it gives me heartburn.
I
So
hear you.
I do want to voice that in my total lack of confidence in Hemp Hill construction. So
Hopefully
I
we
say
won't.
that. I pray that we
Well,
don't
their
get to the
office,
altar.
maybe so you'll be okay, probably
I hope.
okay. Key's very capable of keeping up, I think. All right, a motion approved, motion and second, and any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
My second item today, I'm requesting approval of Stryker as sole source for Stryker brand medical stretchers that will be purchased using EMSOF funds.
Yep, so moved.
Second.
All right. Motion by Daniel, second by Jay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Harrison.
Take A and B together, AT&T, one's on Collier Road, and the other one is down around Pilat Shores, Yogi Bear area. We've looked at these plans and we agree with them.
My heart does flutter a little bit on this 1 and 2 again. So I'll make a motion to increase my blood pressure and heart rate for A and B.
Second.
Motion by Daniel, second by, was it Jay? All in favor say aye. All opposed?
C will be TEC utility permit, construct fiber, around Johnson Quarters, Joe Bennett Road, this is District 4 project, Goodley Road. They just expanding fiber in that area in the rural community.
Motion.
Motion approved by Steve,
Second.
second by Brad. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
And then, D will be request Centerpoint to install a gas line down Stump Bridge and Mine Helm Road.
Motion.
Motion approved by Steve,
Second.
second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Tim Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first item we have on the agenda is the North Shore Landing Phase 5. We're recommending approval of the construction drawings. That's a District 2 development.
Yep, so moved.
Second.
Motion approved by Daniel, second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed?
Next item, Mr. President, is Arbor Landing Phase 3B. We're recommending approval of the construction drawings. That's a District 2 development. And for the record, just want to note that as was approved in the preliminary plat for that phase. That's a continuation and was prior to the development ordinance, so the lane widths are 11.5 feet versus the 12, and they also have sidewalks, but that's how it was approved on the preliminary plat. We had the discussion then, but since it's a continuation of the existing streets.
Okay.
All right.
Got a motion?
Motion.
Motion approved by Steve,
Second.
second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
The last item we have, Mr. President, is we're asking for approval of the C&I contract for Spillway Road overlay. That's the LPA project with engineering service. We're getting the PS&E package ready to submit. MDOT will review it, and hopefully sometime in September we'll have authority to advertise that. But one of the things we have to have, MDOT has reviewed the CE&I contract. That's a construction and inspection contract. And we'll submit, once it's approved, we submit it to MDOT. We sign it, submit it to MDOT. They send it back to the county for approval. And it's based on a cost percentage.
So why are we waiting so late to do this one? Haven't we already done the other ones? Is this part of the MPO overlay?
No, this is a project that's been designed. This was,
What's taken us so long to get to this project is we can't get the one closed out that Hempfield Construction's doing at Spillway North. So what's happened is we can't go down this route until the other one gets finished.
no, this project is
So
actually,
we're
is
being-
designed.
we're being
It's not, we're not
extremely-
submitting for
we're being
funding. This one has been
extremely-
funded.
Steve,
Right, this is the one through MPO.
Yes, that's correct.
But we can't get that one going until
right.
the other one dies. So we're being extremely optimistic that sometime in the next 5 years, that's closed, and then
got
this
you.
one will move. So Janice, make a note on our minutes to go. You'll be able to find it a little easier if you mark this as a special time, right?
I'm just curious, Mr. Cross, do you shop at Walmart?
I do. I do shop at Walmart too. It's all falling apart today,
Curious.
you know? I shop at Walmart. I drive down Spillway Road. I mean, there's just
I
a
get
lot
it.
of things I
I
got
get it.
Go Lowe's.
in the negative side of things right now. So.
Shops involved.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a tough situation for me.
What is lacked on Spillway?
On the North Shore Spillway
Yeah,
project?
well, yeah.
We've actually gotten approval from MDOT to submit the final construction notebook, which is all the testing. It's testing of materials that's been the holdup on pretty much everything. Just getting MDOT to sign off. I'll give you an example. There's an item in the contract called a branch connection. It's where you tie a pipe going this way to a pipe going this way. Excuse me. All right, so you cut a hole in a pipe and you put the other pipe in there. Well, we're getting questions from MDOT. They don't have any material test from that item. There are no materials. You've got two pipes that are existing. You've got the pipes already approved. The item is just a connection of the two. It's a physical thing. There is no, so that's the kind of questions we've been working through to try to resolve, that there is no item test to give them.
Well, is that something that's a fault of Hempfield?
No. That's working.
So the
That's
holdup
working.
is you have to do a lot of
The construction is
MDOT stuff.
complete. Now,
At this
Okay.
point.
yeah,
At this
at
point.
this point now we're working with finally getting the
Okay. Getting
MDOT
all
to
the-
sign off on all the
Well,
documentation.
We've run into that before when we got.
Absolutely.
MDOT
Closing
stuff.
out an LPA
Yeah.
project, it just takes a lot of time for the system.
Timmy, do you remember when we started this project?
I think I had hair.
We awarded it in December of 2018. My hair was a lot darker, I was a little bit more patient and all that stuff. So 2018 is when we started this time frame.
Absolutely.
I'm scared to look at the date today. I don't even want to know what today is. So
We did win a national championship though.
we did, absolutely. So it's all kind of a moot point
Right.
other than that.
So in all
Okay.
seriousness, what are we waiting on Hempfield to close out the other one?
So basically, once MDOT signs off on this notebook, which they've given us, you can't submit it till they give you the authority to submit it. So I'm hopeful, and I'm saying hopeful because the project has not moved expeditiously. I'm hopeful that in September we ought to be able to close it out.
And for that
Well,
same
and we're
point-
still holding some of their money. So I mean,
and
there's
for
a
the
paper
same
push.
side of that, your notes don't match what Hempfield's notes say, right?
We've compared notes and we're to a resolution there. We don't necessarily agree with MDOT's stance on some things as far as the materials, but
So what I'm saying is you've got Hempfield saying this and you saying this, so we're trying to get MDOT to be the mediator.
Right.
Gotcha. Good.
Where do we stand?
so I'm hopeful that we can close it out.
In the next
Once we-
5
once
years,
once we
we
get the
should be
documents
good.
submitted to MDOT, they'll review the notebook, and I'm hoping in September we ought to be able to close it out, have the final payout, and it's done.
This
Right.
term ends in 2 years and about 3 months.
Right.
So I think at that point, what we'll do is, whether it's closed out or not, we'll walk into our end of this term and we'll just make some celebratory remarks. We got
Since Hempfield's already on site, they can just roll right on. Keep
makes it
going
easy.
then, huh?
Makes it easy. That's right.
It's a race, though.
Yeah.
It's a race to see which happens.
Do you need a motion?
Yes, sir.
All right,
I so move to approve whatever we need to do.
Hey, I'm with Jay today. That's
Motion-
the best way to do things. I
motion-
second Jay's
motion
motion.
approved by Jay, second by Daniel. Steve with Jay, so he's
See?
second.
Me
All
and
in favor
Jay.
say aye, all opposed.
Because Jay gets better results.
Thank you, Mr.
I look
President.
at the Oak Grove stuff.
Oh,
he gets
yeah,
better
right,
results. You know,
right. Big
Jay
time.
gets things done around here.
Oh,
I've just
yeah,
been on the
son.
wrong side of that wagon.
Yeah.
So,
I think I still hold the cake for that one, man.
I'm still holding it. We're still partying it. You know.
We group all yours, can't we?
Yes, sir. Mr. President, if I may ask that we group together items A through E under my section, because those will all be to set public hearings for September 2 at 9 a.m. And you can see what they are. They're nuisance considerations for each of those that are listed there.
Motion approved.
All right, motion to set these public hearings by Brad, second by Steve. Any discussion? Not all in favor say aye, all
Aye.
opposed. I have one question. Is that the first one, Renee? Is that the one where the guy keeps bringing in cars and things? Huh? I think District 1, yeah. On Butler Road, yeah. Okay, I just trying to identify which ones they are because I don't know names. Okay.
Gentlemen, item F is your consideration of adopting the 2018 International Building Codes as related to construction and maintenance of buildings and the 2017 National Electric Code. Ms. Brian Measles is here today to walk you guys through any questions or concerns you may have. There is a listing. I think that's been handed out to them. Is that right?
Yes.
Has each of y'all received that? So you can see the changes, the primary changes to the code that are listed there. These would be the substantive changes. So if anybody has any questions, we're prepared to address those at this time.
You me just ask him some questions?
Wait,
I'm
may-
just kidding.
yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm good.
Find out what he knows about Hemphill.
I'm scared to bring it up.
Talking about the codes, they,
Now these are all good. I mean, and a lot of
Do we-
places are still on a different code, 5-year-old.
yeah, all this
12
stuff
or
right
13.
here, have we notified all builders so they're all gonna know what needs to be done?
I've talked to every builder that I've gone along with for the last probably 2 months about these. There's a few that I've gotta talk to, but there's gonna be plenty of time to transition into this. This will not be tomorrow, we're gonna be doing this. We're gonna, and heads up, I've already talked to, like I said, I've got, builders ordering doors and windows, and they're telling me that they're 3 or 4 months out. I'm just telling them, well, 6 months out, let's look at this. So I'm not making them go back and change out things that they've already ordered.
So as they all come and pull permits, could we like give them this and,
We definitely-
All right.
We're very hands-on with this. This will not be a shock to our builders.
okay. Well, I'm sure somebody will, but the most we can do to help, the better we'll be off, you
We'll
know?
let them know I'm-
It's really nothing on there.
Nothing major.
Pretty much
All right.
basic.
Any other questions, guys? If y'all are prepared, I just need a motion to adopt these changes to
So
both the building code and the electric code.
Second.
Okay, motion by who?
Jay.
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 Brad.
Second by Brad. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Okay, gentlemen, item G under my section is a little interesting. It's an interesting situation. What you've got here is a location that is inside the qualified resort area at the reservoir. I want to start and lead with that. Makes it a unique consideration. Because it is in the qualified resort area, it is already permitted to serve alcoholic beverages through ABC. And that's a statute that's authorized by the state legislature. We didn't get any vote on that, okay? So I want to make that clear. This location, which is called Black Axes, y'all may be familiar with it. They have requested permission to host an outdoor event in recognition of and in remembrance of the September 11 tragedy from 20 years ago. And so they are proposing the following. I'm going to walk you guys through this. They're proposing an outdoor, this outdoor event would have inflatables for the kids. It will have a dunking booth. It'll have cornhole boards that y'all are familiar with. There would be a concert from 7 to 10. And again, this is it's for law enforcement, first responders, emergency responders. It's kind of a recognition of those guys. And so the reason that they're coming forward is because even though they are in the qualified resort status, it is zone C2, and we don't allow, as a matter of rule, we don't allow outdoor entertainment unless there is compliance with an outdoor entertainment ordinance.
Where are they gonna do this?
This will be in the parking lot associated with their location.
The newly paved parking lot, by
Yeah.
the way.
It's nice.
It's nice.
Yeah.
You rolling marble across that joke.
Yes.
Right. I'm just concerned that there's not gonna be enough room.
Well, I think they got two sections of the parking lot that they could use. It kind of overflows behind it, you know, with the bowling alley side of everything.
Right.
So there's two sections of it. There is going to be a parking issue at some point, but the guy that's hosting it is a former fireman,
Right.
law
Yeah.
enforcement guy on the same side. So he's aware of the parking issues and stuff like that. He's going to do it first class, and he's doing it just as a way to say thank you with the kids. It's not like necessarily an outdoor concert issue. It's more of a family event to show up to support.
Yeah, because you know, we do that. Bonnie Blair's is right next door, and they'll be wanting to.
We want to be clear about what we're doing here, Jay. This request is associated with attempting to be more protective in the virus situation that's confronted us. We believe that it would be appropriate for this board to recognize that on this one occasion, because of the circumstances that we face with the virus, the fact that having that many folks coming together indoors creates some challenges in this current environment. And in recognition that it would be better if that event were hosted out of doors where there is less likelihood of the transmission medically, we're being counseled that it can be done outside. It's better to be done outside. And so this would be a one-off. I want to make it clear that the request that's being made from staff, the recommendation that's being made from staff, is that this be associated directly with the current situation with the virus. And that this is one occasion where this will be allowed as an outdoor venue, an outdoor event, because of the virus impact. We don't anticipate.
Moved it over to where that grass area is.
What are you
There's a
talking
good
about?
bit of grass to the right of the parking lot.
I think that's a retention pond, isn't it?
Is it? I mean,
That's a retention pond. May not be working as a retention pond, but I think
It looks pretty
wasn't that,
flat
Mike,
to me.
wasn't that a retention pond right there? That's a retention pond on the side of
I
it.
just felt like that. Can
You know-
you
you know-
go
you know-
around to get back? You know, I know you go back to toward the bowling alley.
Yeah, I don't know if you can go the other way though, without getting out on
Yeah.
Span Drive to come around.
I'm just thinking about all those other businesses down there. You know,
How are they gonna get to and from the
If we
business?
put it
we're
in
talking
that,
about?
if we put it in that retention pond, you know what's gonna happen. Don't you?
It's gonna rain.
It's gonna
It's
rain.
gonna rain hard.
all
It's
right.
gonna rain hard.
Yep, that could be fun.
Not saying that our retention ponds in that area work, but in the rare case that it did.
All right.
They have requirements, by the way, that they have to comply with ABC anyway. It's part of this. Your involvement is simply to authorize this event for this time period with the understanding that there's going to be some impact on the free flow of parking lot traffic for a short period of time on that day. And we would want to make it clear, this is a one-off, and there's the basis for it is that we know that as a result of the virus, an outdoor event of this kind is preferred in the current situation. We're not authorizing these as a matter of general practice, especially in C2. We're still reserving our right to object to any outdoor activity located in a C2. We're going to make this one waive off because of the unique circumstances with the virus. So I would just need a motion to authorize the issuance of whatever kind of documentation or permit would be necessary to authorize this one event.
Yeah, I'll make that motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion approved by Daniel, second by Brad. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
If I didn't say it, this will be September the 11th, 2021, 4 PM to 10 PM.
Okay.
Hey, well, what's the zoning, what would the zoning have to be to have an outdoor?
C3.
C3?
That's right. Is there anything we can do conditional use in C2? They can, I know that's what we've done on some like boat RV situations. Do we do a conditional use? Okay. Outdoor storage, on outdoor storage. We've got some conditional use C2s, but it's very narrowly tailored, Brad. I think we've allowed it haphazardly once or twice in certain specific situations where it's immediately adjacent to C3 kind of situation. All right, we'll move on from that one. The next item is item H. This one is a situation where we've got some erroneous assessments we want to take care of. I've been working with the person that's impacted by this. What happened was we had a parcel of property on which was located a mobile home. We sent the tax statements to the wrong address, and we did that for a number of years. The problem was we had the right street address, we had the wrong city. And so somebody else has been getting statements that should have gone. And so we want to take care of these erroneous assessments. It's for 2008 through 18. You see the tax account number listed there. I would ask for a motion to authorize declaring those as erroneous assessments.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jay, second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Item I is authorization for the county administrator to execute a service agreement with Log Me In. This is, Scott Cole came and mentioned this to you guys. This is our phone system. This is the contract that now has been reviewed. I'm asking for authority to have Keith execute the agreement and get that roll out and transition in place.
Motion.
Motion by Steve, second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
We have two documents that we need to get executed that relate to the former battery plant location. This is to allow for access to those properties by the appropriate parties. You guys are familiar with it. We just need to get those authorized and get them turned around.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Brad,
Second.
second by Jay. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Item K, gentlemen, is our consideration of your various ad valorem tax exemption requests for 2021. You'll see a number that are listed there. I want to walk you guys through those. Before I begin, I want to remind you that that in 2019, you instituted, I say 2019, it's actually 2020, you instituted a revision to your ad valorem tax exemption policy. And so I want to remind us, for the record, what your policy requires. The maximum length of a tax exemption that you have authority to issue, where there is discretion, is 5 years. We don't go more than 5. We can re-up for an additional 5. There's a total of, by constitution, the limitation is 10 on any tax exemption. And so this board said, we would like to do a 5-5 so we can monitor and make sure that it's going like we thought it would go. And so that's the first item. If we have discretion, we're going to use a 5-5 approach. That's the first. Second is the minimum investment in capital improvements and expansion is $2.5 million. If they're making a capital investment of $2.5 million, they meet the minimum threshold, they're eligible for the exemption.
So how's Alamo and National and all those?
I will get to that
Sorry.
momentarily.
All right.
Okay. Item 3, the minimum number of new jobs that are created. This is an either or. They can either do $2.5 million in investment, or they can employ 25 new hires. They get the choice of that. All right. That's your third option that's available to them under the exemption policy. The fourth and final, if I can get my page turned. The fourth and final is that no exemption will be granted by Rankin County to any otherwise qualified applicant where the governing authority of the municipality where the applicant is located fails or refuses to grant them a tax exemption. In other words, We expect the city to give them an exemption if we're going to be expected to give them an exemption if they're located inside of the city. So those are your parameters. That's what's been communicated to each ad valorem tax exemption applicant. They know that. To answer Jay's question, there are tax exemptions where you don't have discretion. They are embedded in the law. I give you the airport tax exemption, which answers your Alamo Enterprise question. As long as they can demonstrate that they are serving air passengers and they are located on airport authority property and they are arranged in some sort of transactional lease or otherwise with the airport authority, they get the exemption without regard to your minimum standards. Okay? So each of the four, and I think it would be appropriate for us to take these, the four, I believe it's four, it may only be three, the three or four airport requests, National Car Rental, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and Alamo Car Rental. Each of those qualify under Mississippi Code 61321 for the exemption. Recommendation from the tax assessor and from myself is that those be granted. So I would ask for a motion to grant those three.
I so move.
Second.
Motion by Jay, second by Steve, discussion.
Yeah, I have a dumb question
I do
for you,
too.
Craig.
Go ahead.
When we do Freeport,
Coming.
does that mean that we also allow all their facilities to be exempt?
No, Freeport
Just
relates
their
directly to
inventory.
whatever it is that's being warehoused, whatever it is that is in that inventory for shipment out of
But
state.
everything else is applicable? Okay, all right.
And Brian,
With-
y'all okay with Bob, the city?
No. Voith is coming. Hang on just a second.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna take them
Oh, okay, I got
one
you.
at a
All
time,
right,
walking
all
you
right,
guys
okay.
through the various exemptions
All
that
right.
we've got. We have
Okay,
three.
a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed. Okay.
Now we have three Freeport warehouse exemption requests. They are Steel Tracks, Inc., Old Fannin, Tyson Foods, Industrial Park, and Lineage Logistics, which I think is also part of Tyson, if I recall correctly. Those three Freeports are authorized because they have met the threshold of that statute. 273151 is the Freeport warehouse exemption. That does not require a minimum capital improvement. That does not require jobs. That's a Freeport that is automatic under the law if they meet the requirements, and they do. And so I would ask that those three Freeport warehouse requests be granted.
Do I need to make a separate motion?
We need a motion.
All right, I motion to approve these Freeport.
Okay, motion approved by Jay,
Second.
second by Brad. All in favor say aye. All opposed.
Hey, Slade, was Spinal USA in that motion he just made?
It's coming.
Okay, it's
It's
not in that
coming.
motion.
It's not in that motion. It's coming. You've got, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got 6 ad valorem tax exemptions, I'll go through them, that are subject to your policy that we need to address by looking at your policy requirements and see did they meet. I have position statements on each of those. I'll walk through them one at a time. Nucor Steel has asked for an exemption under 2731-105. The issue is we have no confirmation from the city of Flowood that the city has granted Nucor's request. That does not meet our policy. Unless we have documentation that the city's granted the request, it doesn't meet our policy. As of today, we don't have that documentation. It would violate our policy for us to grant the request without that documentation. You have a couple of options. You can grant the request contingent upon receipt of confirmation from Flowood that they have granted the request. If that condition fails, they do not get the exemption. That would be my recommendation. Approve it conditionally upon receipt of Flowwood's confirmed in writing granting of that exemption.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Steve,
I'll second.
second by Brad. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed?
You have a request from Voith Fabrics in Florence. Voith, unfortunately for them, does not meet two of your requirements. They do not meet the minimum capital improvement requirement, and the city of Richland has not, or Florence has not granted them an exemption request. I would propose that you simply reject this because they're not going to be able to cure the problem with their failing to meet the minimum capital improvement requirement. So I would propose that you take a motion to deny the ad valorem exemption requests of Voith Fabrics.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second, a motion by myself, second by Steve. All in favor say aye. All opposed?
General Recycling of Mississippi has submitted an exemption request. The tax assessor has reviewed the request and finds that it does not meet the capital improvement value requirements. I would request a motion that we deny General Recycling's application for tax exemption.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Jay. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
International Paper Company has submitted a request under the manufacturing exemption 2731105. The tax assessor has reviewed it. The city of Richland actually denied the request of International Paper for a tax exemption.
Okay.
It does not meet our capital improvement value requirement either. I would ask for a motion to deny International Paper's request for an exemption.
So moved.
Motion by Jay,
Second.
second by Brad. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Habe USA in Richland has requested a tax exemption under 2731105. Tax assessor has reviewed this. City of Richland actually denied this request. It does not meet your capital improvement requirements. I would request a motion to deny the Habe USA request for tax exemption.
What is Habe USA? I'm looking on my sheet.
Do we know what Habe USA actually is?
It's not on our sheet, is it?
Right here.
Right there, right there first.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, right there. It is there.
Huh, you know what it is?
Yeah. I just didn't see it on my
Second.
Who made a motion?
I did.
Bishop.
Motion by Jay, second by Brad. Any discussion? Not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
U.S. Foods has submitted a request for a tax exemption under 27317. This is a warehouse distribution facility. It's the opinion of the tax assessor the exemption should be denied based on the following. The exemption applies to the physical plant of the manufacturer, and U.S. Foods sells many of their products to the final consumer, the end user. An example would be dinnerware, flatware, glassware that they sell to restaurants. So this is not actually being held for distribution and sale in another state. Everybody clear on that? So they are already receiving an exemption for what is in fact Freeport. This request is a follow-up to try to capture it all under the guise that it all is headed out of state and is not for the end user. Okay? So we're putting the quietus on that request. We're asking that you deny their exemption request on the basis that it does not meet the statutory requirements of 27317 et sequi.
Motion.
Motion by Steve,
Second.
second by Jay. Deny this request. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Come to the Spinal USA. Spinal actually has a couple of pending requests. One relates to their to what is known as the manufacturing exemption under 2731105. This one is a unique situation. They actually meet the requirement of the number of employees. What is unclear is that it is in fact in compliance with our policy in that it's 25 employees related to capital improvement. So I'm going to have to basically rely on you guys to make your decision on the basis of whether or not you think the fact that they've got more than ample numbers of employees to meet the requirement is sufficient under your policy. This taxpayer has been through some challenges with us. Recently, we have had a fairly significant amount of unpaid personal property tax that we've had to deal with, but they have complied with our requests to get caught up, and they are moving now in the right direction, and we have good communication at the local level, and I've been pleased that they are getting themselves back where they need to be. The city has no record that the exemption has been filed, City of Pearl, and so what I would propose is that we grant the exemption conditioned upon their getting compliant with the requirement that the city also grant the exemption and give them an opportunity to get compliant there. Their second request, which has to do with the Freeport warehouse, this exemption is already in place. They did not need to ask for it again, but they do need to stay compliant with our licensure requirements. And so what I would propose is that you instruct me to notify them to get their licensure caught up with the tax assessor's office and tax collector's office, and so that they can remain compliant. We don't need to act on their Freeport request, it's already granted, but I do need you to contingently approve their manufacturing request under 2731-105 upon the receipt of the city documentation.
So how do we verify the employees?
I think we know.
Call roll.
Okay.
But that's not an issue of discussion. It's not something we need to know. We know that.
Okay.
Okay. So,
So we're gonna make a motion to approve contingent on
Contingent.
them getting up to date.
Yes.
On their license.
And you're instructing me to notify them about their licensure requirement on the Freeport.
okay, motion by who?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Brad,
Second.
second by Steve. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
Your last and
Hey,
final.
hey, let me add one thing. I need to abstain. I need to abstain on the Spinal USA vote. So mark me down as abstaining, please.
Okay,
That one was 4-0. We ready to move? Your last and final exemption request comes from Verizon Wireless. This one's a unique one. It comes under, I don't know what to call it, broadband incentive package offered by your state legislature to entities that are involved in broadband distribution. Verizon has submitted an application under a special code section that is set up for various large multinational entities that operate inside Mississippi, and it runs the gamut, but there's a specific language that is applicable to broadband wireless entities. It's an incentive package that allows them to claim tax credits against personal property taxes owed in structured amounts on the basis of where they introduce that infrastructure. They've made the request, and I believe that they are seeking the maximum amount of available tax credit that's offered under the incentive package. I want to walk you through a couple of things that need to be on the record. First and foremost, they are entitled to various percentages of credit on the basis of where they put the infrastructure. Rankin County is considered to be what is called a Tier 1 county under the Department of Revenue's analysis, and it has to do with per capita income of your folks and your unemployment rate. So to be a Tier 1 county in Mississippi, you have to be at the top of the food chain as it relates to per capita income and your unemployment rate. For as long as I can go back in records, 1996 is as far back as you can go to the Department of Revenue and find the records. From 1996 to today, Rankin County has never been out of first place in the state. Every metric over that period of time, we have the lowest unemployment rate combined with the highest per capita income. we're ahead of Madison, Lamar, Forest, Harrison, DeSoto, we're ahead of all those. Hines is approaching going out of the top 10, if that helps you. The first 27 counties in that grouping make it into Tier 1. If you're in Tier 1, the broadband industry gets the lowest amount of tax credit. In other words, the legislature is smart enough to say, the folks in Rankin County are not underserved by most of these, as a whole, by most of these telecom industries. We have places in Rankin County that are terribly underserved.
Yeah.
But as a whole, we are not underserved by those. And so they don't get as much incentive to come into Rankin County. So there's a two-edged sword there. I think I lost power on that. Unless that was intentional to make me shut up.
Yeah, I got a button over here.
Yeah, you need one. So Rankin County being a Tier 1 county, it's the lowest level of incentive, which is a 5% tax credit incentive. They are eligible for up to 10 years of equipment and manufacturing items that are placed into service with a cap. And any equipment that is placed in service, this is unique to this code section, anything that is placed into service that can be tied back to monies that were given to them under the CARES Act. The CARES Act, the coronavirus, whatever relief.
Thank you,
Whatnot.
Hurry up, James.
Chester.
What's the matter with her? Why is she limping?
If they put any equipment in service with funds that were given to them through the CARES Act, they do not get this tax credit. So I'm looking at their submission to us. It looks like, for the most part, it qualifies for the 5% credit under the Tier 1 analysis. And I would propose that you guys grant the ad valorem tax exemption under the code section if they've applied, allow them the Tier 1 exemption amount, but I want to be clear about a couple of things. The listing of property that they have submitted has equipment service dates that range from 2011 all the way up through 2020. Okay? The equipment that was placed in service in 2011 is not going to be entitled to any exemption. They only get a 10-year tax exemption, and it runs from the date that it's placed in service. So anything that was in service in 11 doesn't get an exemption. For each year that the equipment is placed in service, there should be a proration of the actual length of time of the exemption that they're authorized. So I want to make that clear. We'll make sure Christie understands that's what we've got to do here. So for a lot of the equipment that's listed on this, and it's almost $5 million worth of equipment, okay? So it's a big number as far as a base number is concerned. So we need to be careful about that. If it's equipment that was placed into service in 2018, they've got 7 years of useful life left on that. They're entitled to exemption for that length of period. So y'all understand what we're talking about here. So if they put it in service in 11, they don't get anything. 12, they get 1 year. 13, they get 2, so forth and so on until you get up through their list here. Then going forward from today, they would be entitled to a 10-year for anything that they put into service today. And then after that, they start losing it again based on the date of service that they put in, okay? Here's another consideration for you. I believe that we need to assume that any equipment they put in service from March 1, 2020 until the end of this year has been paid for with CARES money, and that they're not entitled to an exemption for anything that goes into service within those blocks. So that would be my request, that's how I want you to structure the motion. They get a Tier 1 exemption, they get it for 10 years, and it's structured on the basis of equipment placed in service, and they get no exemption for equipment that's put into service March 1, 2020 through 12/31/21.
Wouldn't you need to extend that, because don't they have a amount of time to
Yeah.
that money?
So the CARES money, I'm giving us an extra 4 or 5 months here, Brad, to pick up the rest of that money, to make sure that we've got through the period of time that it would have been available to them to use. It's not a 3-year deal.
Okay.
So is there any way to verify this? 'Cause I know they took a big chunk out last year because the school called me. 'Cause it affected their budget significantly. I think it was like, 300,000 was the end. So the assessment had to be way up there. Yeah.
It needs to be addressed, should have been addressed, but we're about to address it.
Info.
I'd like to make the motion that Craig suggested that we go with.
You would like to repeat that?
I'd like.
I don't want to repeat it.
All right.
I'll second.
Motion by Steve, second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
Okay.
All right.
The next item L under my section is discussion of and potential action on your responses to solid waste collection and disposal and your request for proposal. This may be a tag team deal here between the people, so.
Leave it on the edge.
Yeah, let me, yeah. Okay. Last board meeting, we reviewed responses to your requests for proposal on solid waste collection and disposal. You got one response on solid waste collection. You got 2 responses on solid waste disposal. One of your disposals was from the same entity that rendered a collection response. The other was Republic. So you see before you listed there, the waste management piece of this, which includes their collection response. And also it shows you the solid waste disposal piece as identified in waste management's response to us. You can see how those are broken down there. You have one time a week with it's broken down this way. A 3-year bid with a 3-year renewal, a 6-year bid with 4 1-year auto renewals, and then you see an automated collection piece, and then you see a 6-year bid with 4 annual renewal options at 2 times a week that's a 2 times a week, and then 2 times a week broken down automated 3-3, 6-4. Y'all, are you tracking with me? You see what I'm talking about there?
Trying to keep up, yeah.
And then on your disposal piece, you've got your 3 and your 6 year, okay? So this is just waste management. That's all you're looking at right here. But it's broken down among the various parts of your proposal as presented. What you see,
Go ahead.
what you see is as you move to the right across the column, you'll see the staff's analysis of what the impact is to you. This is to fee payers across the county.
That's huge.
Waste Management basically doubled their rates for what they're doing right now.
Well, let's see. The current residential unit per month charge.
More than doubled, yeah.
The current residential unit per month charge is $11.76.
And their bid is $23.38.
For the same service.
For the same service we're doing right now, rates just doubled
Yeah, plus.
on a 3-year bid. On a 3-year bid, yeah.
Which is under the current program what we've always had in the past, right? 3 years at a time?
A 3-3, yes, sir.
So-
Let me say this, since I've been board attorney, the change in the law to allow the 6-4 is probably less than 2 years old. I think the state legislature changed that in 19.
But you're still going up $6 a pop if we go to the 6-year full plan, right?
Yes, sir. There is an increase of basically $5.75 per month.
So if we went with automated collection, y'all don't think the headache would be worth it for that savings of $2 a month?
Here's what I think happens if we go one time a week.
No, I'm ruling that out. I'm ruling that out.
So but you're talking about the one with the garbage
Arms.
cans right there. They got to pick up.
It'll be $15.50.
I just don't think everybody can get their stuff into that. I mean, I think that's a problem
Well, they get multiple cans.
for more money.
Yeah, one time.
They get one can per house.
But-
But then if you wanna buy another can.
Yeah, I
you
guess the
gotta buy
part that
another
makes me
can.
nervous is if the garbage can's not turned a certain way to where it can pick it up, they just skip it, right?
If they can get that arm around, they gonna skip it.
So that's kind of where,
It's gonna be a training. I mean, they gonna have to.
Yeah, there ain't no doubt
People
about
are
it.
gonna have to learn how to do it if they wanna save money on garbage.
So it's $2 a month.
is that worth $2 a month?
That's why I'm asking y'all.
It's not to me.
Okay.
I mean,
I mean, our situation out in the rural part is they send a driver and normally 2 people on the back of a truck picking it up. Well, if you got any of those guys out, they're lacking in service out in the rural part of the county. And we're
Right
not
now, they're
getting
running
collected.
one guy.
Where they can get one man in a truck that can go around and pick up, and they don't have to have one employee on that truck.
I guess my thing is you'd be more likely to get the neighborhoods trained in setting the garbage cans right. But I don't think there's any possible way throughout the county you can get people trained to set the garbage can the right way. I mean, imagine the phone calls we get right now when they just skip that house or skip that street.
Oh, I got texts
It's
coming
not,
in now.
it's
that-
no
not
doubt.
just setting it the right way. I mean, if you think about our county roads, we have very few county roads with the proper shoulders that you can set them the way they want to. But the next thing is these garbage cans are heavy. And when you put garbage in them, they're real heavy. I mean, I'm gonna say really, they probably weigh 50 pounds empty. And half of the people that live out in the rural areas are more than 50 years old, or even maybe more than 60. And I can't see them being able to drag that garbage can 100 yards to the road.
On a gravel driveway.
See a 65, 75-year-old lady trying to get that lug, that garbage, she can't get it up and put it in the back of the truck. Hell, I can't hardly pick it up and put it in the back of the truck. I mean, this could probably work in a platted subdivision where there's some sidewalks and there's a place, but it just doesn't seem feasible to me.
So we're gonna scrap the automated then.
I would like to scrap it in District 4.
I just,
They did say it was gonna take at least 3 years to get this all up and running. It
So
wasn't
we
gonna be
need to
something that
decide.
would
But-
happen.
but-
6 year.
but also
yeah.
the same thing is Waste Management is the only one that bid in picking it up. The
Right.
public did not.
Right.
They just basically gave us a location, right? Isn't that what they
Yep.
bid on?
Yep.
Location to haul it.
They gave us a better rate, but I don't know if we could force them to haul to it. And then we'd end up with issues of, the dump being too wet, and then what do they do with their trucks that's loaded? They gotta have a place for it to unload. So, yeah, we got one choice and one choice only.
When we get to a point of decision today, just kind of give you guys a pathway, what are we doing here? What you're doing with respect to your responses is you are deciding what is in the best interest of the taxpayers, who is the proposer, and what conditions do we want to move forward with a selected proposer. Okay, so what we're trying to do today is to identify, on the basis of the responses that have been provided, which is the best for the taxpayers, which is the best responder, and who should be identified as the one that we will then go to and enter into negotiations to arrive at a contract that you can then authorize and execute. There's more work to be done. You are identifying the best responder out of the ones who have responded. So let me give you the disposal piece. You need that information, right? What you have in front of you is the waste management piece that includes their disposal response. But you also need to consider the fact that you did get 2 responses to disposal, and we need to talk about that and evaluate those responses. So what you just got handed is your disposal comparison. We'll stick with the 6-year, Jay.
Yep.
Because I think that's kind of where we've gravitated to. Not much difference, but you'll see that Republic's response for either option was $19 per month. I'm sorry, per ton. $19 per ton. Waste Management's response is on a 6-year, 4-year renewals is $23.50 per ton.
But we can't make Waste Management go to,
Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about. If you extend your comparison analysis out, you see it's been projected out to show you what the cost is likely to be given the current tonnage, which you see there is right at $3,200 a month. See that? So if you extend those out, the monthly payment, you get your cost analysis there. The difference between the 2 proposers for the 6-year option is about $15,000 a month, between $14,000 and $15,000. You would pay Waste Management about $14,290 more per month at their rate. For disposal. So the yearly difference is about $171,000, okay? So the savings, the at first blush savings by going with the Republic disposal option would result presumptively in a savings of about $175,000 a year, just on the disposal piece. But there are complexities, and it's this. You would have 2 different service providers, 2 different agreements, having to coordinate with one another to get the job done. You've got a collector and a disposer. Based on what we've been told, there is no compatibility between the 2 providers. And according to what we understand, there will be no cooperation between the collector and some other disposer. So you may not have a collector if that collector is not the disposer. And we don't have mechanisms, by the way, to force a service provider to do anything that they don't want to do voluntarily. And you don't have another option on collection.
Well, I don't see we have anything.
You would go back out again on your collection piece, and I don't know where we would be any differently. We don't have but one collector
So we're
that's in the game.
Yeah.
we're hostage to Waste
Yeah.
Management.
So where we are is it's been clearly
Or whomever, the other way around. It would be
communicated
They're the only one it'd be.
that we may be on our own with respect to disposal. Okay.
Well,
So-
we're under a short timeline
Yes, sir.
here to be making any significant changes.
We need to be finalized, obviously, by some point in September, because we've got an October 1 new contract date. So I would propose that you consider today whether or not Waste Management is the best option for both collection and disposal in light of the circumstances that have been presented to you, in light of the costs, and that you authorize the staff to move forward with negotiations on an agreement.
Slay, inside that agreement, is there any kind of penalties we can put in place for Waste Management?
Yes, sir.
That if they're not performing, if they're performing as they're performing now, is there more teeth we can put in that might could financially reduce some of this cost? If they're
That-
not performing how they should be? That's the biggest heartache I think most
Exactly.
people have, is it's not the Waste Management company, it's the service that they're providing right now is causing a tremendous amount of upset people throughout the county. So people's not happy with the service. So
Yes, sir.
is there penalties or is there stipulations you can put in the contract that allow a punitive damage to Waste Management if they're not meeting their end of the contract?
Yes, sir. We have, in our current contract, we actually do have penalties associated with inadequate service of the type you described. The issue is policing it. The issue is beefing up some of the language so that there are less escape hatches. Right now, the penalties are only applicable if they fail to respond to having been noticed about an issue. That's where, I think what we need to do, Daniel, is to look at that language and structure it that where you guys feel more comfortable, that if they miss it, they pay, or they don't get paid better. It gets deducted from what would be otherwise owed to them. I think we can have that conversation. That the next step, again, is negotiations of an agreement that's acceptable to the board. And those are the kinds of, that is the kind of information that we would need so that as we go into negotiations, we have an agreement that has your concerns addressed.
Brad,
So-
wouldn't you think that's your biggest deal?
Well, the problem is now, I mean, they go back and use the clause with the COVID. I mean, there's a clause in there saying a pandemic or whatever. They
If-
don't have to come pick your garbage.
If I have anything to do with that, that won't be in there. It'll be clear in the force majeure that virus pandemics, that we've already started introducing different language now. We're not allowing pandemics to be utilized as a part of force
Because they
majeure
get paid
clause.
regardless. I mean,
Hey, Bishop, what was the deal we talked about our own?
Transfer station?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that still an option?
Well,
I'm not sure, I wasn't in that meeting, so.
Brad?
How did it go?
it could be an option.
Yeah, it could be, but not.
There's a good bit of stuff that needs to go on in the negotiation piece of this. What I need y'all to do today is to make your decision. Is it in the best interest of your citizens that we select Waste Management using a 6-year with 4 renewals as our basis and initiate negotiations that lead ultimately to an agreement? Is that your decision today?
Let me ask this, if we make that decision today and your negotiations just go to pot,
Yes, sir.
Oh,
can we back out?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You-
We're not stuck on it
That's
necessarily today.
correct.
We're just
Well,
trying to enter
yeah,
you
yeah,
into the,
You're identifying Waste Management as the people that we need to go to and start negotiating with.
That's our
I'm good.
only real option here.
So
My- my
on
got
this,
some rights on
on
dump
the
trucks.
difference between the 3 and the 6, did they enter anything about the CPI change?
No, sir. We've not had those discussions. Jay, as you know, under your current agreement, there is a maximum per year that they're allowed to go up on CPI. We put a cap on that.
Yeah.
I would propose that we not change that we keep it at a max of 2% per year, max. It's
Right.
whatever it is, but not to exceed 2%.
Yeah, I agree.
We also introduced some language as it relates to house counts, and our intention, I'm looking over
let's
at my
just
county
bring that up.
administrator.
Yeah.
Our intention is to stay on top of house counts. I know that has been somewhat of a sore subject, and it's one that we definitely want to get squared away
Right.
and make it more easily tracked
Right,
so that we're actually billing for the services being provided.
right.
And this cost per month that's gone up double. I mean, what about the senior citizen? I guess they'll get the discount.
We haven't even gotten to the stage, Brad, where we're talking about what you guys are actually charging
I'm sure they will.
residents. That's a
Good
separate
point.
discussion. That we will owe for the collection and disposal, whether we bill any of our folks for the service or not, okay? So at some point, I anticipate that y'all will be discussing what are we billing and what do we need to be billing.
Yep.
That's coming at some
Well,
point.
So we need a motion to allow you to go into negotiations with Waste Management over, on the 6-year proposal.
Yes, sir. If you
6
find that
years,
Waste
twice
Management,
a week.
twice a week.
yes, sir.
Okay.
If you find that Waste Management is the highest and best or lowest and best among the 2 that have submitted responses in some measure, if that's your finding, that would be the motion.
All right. I make a motion.
Second.
You want to bring that up for discussion? Brandon, motion by Jay, second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Well,
I
I mean, this is
I don't know
past
what
the
to do.
discussion, but
I mean,
we,
you handcuffed.
we
got
have,
another store?
we have no
Cut
other
out garbage
choice.
pickups.
And we have very little time. And,
Who did? Brandon.
And we're not alone.
no,
I said you want to make that.
Well, I mean, that's all negotiations.
I would, and this
Is there
has
any way to
nothing to do.
negotiate there's no way to negotiate the cost down then?
Yeah, I mean, that's,
We're going to enter into negotiations with Waste Management.
this,
Okay, all right. Okay.
This part, I want to ask this, it's not really to do with waste management, but in our office, you know, a lot of the dissatisfaction is not being able to talk to someone when they call about their garbage. And we discussed there was something with the phone lines or stuff. Has any of that been
I guess
corrected?
they're working on with that with Scott.
Is that this new system's gonna help?
I think that it's designed to help with that, Steve, but I better be quiet at that point.
Yeah.
That's an IT.
What you have to remember is there's currently one employee that's responsible for collecting and
Talk about it.
processing, and setting up accounts and closing accounts.
Uh-huh.
There's currently one employee for that.
And if she's off that day, nobody.
Now, we have tried by updating the website to direct people that have collection issues directly to Waste Management. In Waste Management's proposal, they have introduced a website for dealing with complaints that they say they're willing to work with Rankin County on a special website just for us, for people to go to and issue complaints and ask questions about collections. So that's an opportunity for us to let them deal directly with Waste Management. But right now, we just don't have the personnel to handle all the phone calls directly to us. We're just not set up for that.
I wish we did, because probably half the people that call in may not be as internet savvy as
Right.
you are.
That's
And
exactly right.
They can't make their way through that puzzle, you know, but
You're exactly right there.
Punch one for.
And some of them don't have
assistant, two.
yeah,
capability.
well, and if you live where I live, you don't have the internet anyway. So,
Hi, Keith.
Yes, sir.
You up, sir?
Yep, you're here.
Thank you, gentlemen. Item A on my part is the authority to advertise the notice of public hearing on the proposed budget and proposed tax levy for the upcoming fiscal '22 year for Rankin County to be held on September the 7th at 9 a.m.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion approved by Jay, second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed?
Item B, that on that same note, is authority to publish the notice of intent to levy tax for Rankin First Economic Development Authority.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Jay,
second.
second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed?
Item C is the authority to sign order of real and personal property assessment rolls for 2021.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Brad,
Second.
second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed?
All right, item D, conditional authority to pay the remaining balance of settlement of dispute with Evergreen Water Association. This will be the second payment of $117,500 and authority to issue the check. And we will hold that check until it's been determined that all the utilities have been relocated. And I think we're on schedule?
Yeah, they're very close to
Okay, we're that close.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Steve,
Second.
second by Brad. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed? Blake, what you got?
I was just, where is that gonna put us at on actually getting going?
We're going.
They started on the north end
Yeah.
and worked their way south,
So
relocating
we-
utilities.
No, I'm talking about construction of the road.
So the
They-
road was able to
It's
start on the
going now.
north end.
Yeah. August,
Mobilize, roll.
Good
Yeah.
deal.
Contractor's
Hallelujah.
already closed.
Ground being
Yeah,
broke.
one down, one to go. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
All right, item E is consideration and potential action to authorize the board president to execute an agreement with TKE, it's formerly ThyssenKrupp, Elevator Repair and Service Company for service of elevators in our county buildings. And we did stick the 30-day notice to terminate.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion approved by Jay, second by Steve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Additional business. And we do have executive session, correct?
Not for legal.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have one that, I'm not sure the best way to put it under though.
Well, I've got one matter that could potentially be a litigation matter that I can't discuss with you.
Keith reminded me, probably is a matter that will need to be potential litigation.
Motion to go into executive session?
It's short.
Litigation?
I make a motion, discuss the need to go into executive session.
Second.
Motion. Need to go into executive session by Jay, second by Daniel. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All
Aye.
opposed? All right, motion to go into executive session
Motion
By
for,
Jay.
possible litigation.
by Jay, second
And
by
personnel.
Daniel. All in favor say aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Hey, can you, Brent Paul called me about this. This is